Hey Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey Ash, really grateful to be here and I'm looking forward to chatting with you, man.
Great stuff. So, Eric, would you like to share a motivational quote, something that inspires and motivates you, you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And this quote stems from Hermes Trismegistus. So he's the founder of Hermeticism, which is just an ancient spiritual practice.
Hmm.
The quote I would like to start off with means as above, so below, as within, so without.
Quite deep, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, great stuff. So, tell us more about dating. Who is this? What's this product about? Who is it for? Who is the audience? And what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, so dating, it's the first ever AI powered matchmaking service.
Mhm.
It stems from my philosophy of I think human relationships are extremely important for overall human happiness. And I think social media and present day dating apps have pushed that needle in the wrong direction. So dating aims to match a billion happy couples by leveraging AI to create matches. So dating, it's the first ever AI powered matchmaking service. So what you would do is we auto generate dating profiles and matches based on a user's digital footprint and their chat history. So this
Hmm.
solves three problems that, I think it comes across most dating apps. So to summarize, most dating apps are owned by Match.com. So there is
Yeah,
somewhat of
yeah,
a monopoly in that space.
yeah.
But just think about it, like dating apps, the top 5% of users get access to everyone on the app, creating somewhat of a skewed marketplace. The second issue is dating apps are basically hot or not, meaning like, are they good looking? Yes or no, swipe left, swipe right. And
Hmm.
that's not the best way to build a foundation for a relationship. And the third issue is I find the most interesting. It's the incentive structure behind the dating app. So if you think about it logically, if Tinder were to match a happy couple, what does this mean for Tinder? It means that that happy couple should probably leave the dating app, resulting in a loss of a paying customer for Tinder. So it damages the
Mm.
incentives for shareholders and users aren't aligned. So they rely on something called churn marketing, which is keeping someone on a Ferris wheel. So if you've ever heard about someone deleting an app, downloading the app, deleting the app, it's all by design. So what dating
Mm.
is, it's different. So let's say you were to create an account with, and again, AI is really good at pattern recognition and data analysis at scale. So let's say you were to create an account with dating, it would scan your social media accounts, it would scan your chat history of dating, and it would generate tags for you on the back end. So like a zero point 0.7 correlation likes to read, zero point 0.9 likes to meditate, zero point 0.4 likes Indian food, zero point 0.7 likes pizza. So you have a big list of tags on the back end
Hmm.
and then it generates matches based on those tags. So let's say you're big into meditation, zero point 0.9, it could generate a match with a match who's also into spirituality as well based on that tag. And the cool thing is, the app is always learning about you. So right now, it's actually the worst it's going to be because every user who interacts with it, every new user we get, every time you interact with it, gets slightly smarter and better at matching. And I think
Wow.
what differentiates dating from other services is after the match is made, it can switch to a relationship butler. So let me just walk you through the whole process. So I
Mm.
create an account, I get three matches. It's like, okay, Ashley, Kimberly, and Jane. It's like, okay, Jane seems cool. Tell me more about Jane. I get an AI generated summary based on her digital footprint on why we could be a good match. It's like, okay, well, you guys have this in common. We go in a chat with Jane where now we can ask Cupid about ourselves. So it's like, at Cupid, what's Jane's hobby? At
Mm.
Cupid, what's Eric's favorite pasta? And they can answer questions like that. It's like, oh, you guys both follow this one artist on Apple Music. There's a concert coming up with that artist. Would you
Mm.
like to go on this date with Jane? We go on the date. Let's say we fall in love and get married and do that whole thing. And
Mm.
then from there, it can switch to a relationship butler. So it'd be like, okay, you guys haven't been on a date in 3 months. The place you had your second date has half off ice cream. That could be a good date. Or her
Mm.
birthday's coming up. Her
Mm.
birthday's coming up. She just added this thing on Pinterest. Could be a good gift.
Mm.
Or you can even ask, you can even help with relationship advice too. So it could be like, oh, we're having this specific problem with our relationship, and it can give advice based on that. And
Mm.
there's a very specific reason why the personalized AI chat feature is actually better than ChatGPT. Because if you think of dating, we're a personalized layer on top of ChatGPT. So like a layer two solution if you're into crypto. And like if I were to take a screenshot of our conversation, our relationship conversation, ask ChatGPT what this means, it
Mm.
would give me an answer. But again, it's AI is kind of a mirror of the user, so it would give me an answer based on what it knows about me. So
Yeah.
really, I'm asking about like what, and I'd like the answer because it's like, oh, this is the answer I would have given. It makes perfect sense.
Mm.
Whereas with dating, it does the same thing, but it takes into account both users. So it takes into account like if I were to do that with Jane, for example, it would take into account her personality and my personality to give a better, more personalized answer equipped for both users.
Awesome. This sounds really, really interesting. And I really like the fact that you mentioned that you register on dating and after that it creates your profile based on your social digital footprint. What does that mean? Would you be able to talk more with our audience about that? Because I mean, I haven't dated for so long, but I think it was so difficult for me to create the profile. What to put, what not to put, what should I write, and what pictures should I select? How does that kind of problem get solved on dating?
Yeah, so the good thing about dating is our intention is to put users in the position to succeed for the dating marketplace. So, for example, if you match with Tinder, let's
Mm,
say you meet someone online, they may not be the best fit for you. That's also an opportunity cost for time spent with the wrong person is a cost time spent with the right person. So, our users, we have the back end to match, meaning like, okay, you guys have similar interests, maybe this goes somewhere, and it's always learning about you.
mm,
So, of course, if our intention is to put our users in the position to succeed, we're building out the feature where it can select the best AI profile for you. That's coming soon.
mm,
But a lot of people like you, like me, I think a lot of dudes honestly have no idea how to present like a profile, how to build that out. So that's where dating's auto-generated profiles come into play, meaning like it could scan your photos, it could scan your Insta, it could scan your Facebook, it could scan your Gmail, it could scan your YouTube. And we collect a lot of different data sources because let's say someone links one source, that's one dimensional, but if you connect more and knows more about you, you can better generate that profile. And
mm,
the cool thing is, we're programming it to highlight the positive traits of people. So, for example, like, let me use an example. Like, I like Legos. Probably not too many girls are into Legos. I mean, I'm
mm,
sure there are some, but not too many girls are into
mm,
Legos. But let's say I have a photo of me winning like a Lego championship
mm,
like 5 years ago, and it knows it's important to me, so it gives me that high correlation of dating. When it's auto generating that profile, I can be like, okay, like let's say one of us were just to write profile, like, yeah, I'm into Legos. This is my prize. I want it. The girl will
mm,
see that. She's like, what is this? I don't care. But with
mm,
us, it can spin it in a positive way to highlight how this is good for the user. So for this example, this Lego thing could be like, okay, yes, he's into Legos. It shows really high levels of organization. It shows high levels of commitment based on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a long-term partner who has these traits, this could be a good fit for you. So it kind of spins it in a way that's positive for the user. Of course, it's not just Legos, but it's across the board.
very interesting. And then when you're saying that you're crawling across quite a lot of social media platform to generate the profile, is it the user connects their profiles to the dating platform and then you parse it, or is it just like you're parsing it like Google does it?
So in terms of crawling, so what you do is when you create an account, you connect multiple different sources. So you connect your Pinterest, you
Mm,
connect your Twitter, you connect your Facebook, you connect your YouTube, you get your Google Calendar, you connect Apple Health, you connect Apple Music, you connect yeah, a bunch of different sources. And the reason we do many different sources is because like Apple Health is going to tell a different story than Facebook, than Pinterest, than Twitter. So the more sources we get, the better it knows you, the better it gets at matching you. And
mm,
so upon the crawling, for example, let's say it crawls your Twitter, it generates tags for you based on your Twitter. So for example, you could be related to cryptocurrency on Twitter. It gives you that hashtag cryptocurrency tag, hashtag entrepreneur, hashtag reading on the back end. So it's generating those tags based on your digital footprint. So it's not
mm,
like the social media say it just creates tags based on your online presence. And these tags are dynamically updating. So let's say you post a new photo, you get into like I get really into pickleball or something. I start posting about pickleball on my social media accounts. When I start
mm,
taking pictures of my pickleball card, it'll pick that up and then it'll add the pickleball tag to my profile. So they're always updating. And the more you chat with Cupid too, so that's our AI, Cupid's our AI matchmaker. So the more you chat with her, the more your tags update too. So like, oh Eric, what are you up to this weekend? Oh,
mm,
I just started pickleball. That's cool. Oh, how
mm.
much do you play? And then it'll generate the tag based on that. So it's always updating based because people are changing, their interests are changing, what they're looking for is changing. So that's always updating on the back end for the user.
Interesting.
Plus, if the profiles are auto-generated, people can exact. It's harder to lie about the profile too. So
Mm.
it adds a layer of security for the users.
That's what I was about to think. Like, a lot of people lie on dating websites and apps, right? They put like they lie about their age. Sometimes they lie about their height and things like that. And that's why it's difficult for both side of the dating world. Let's take a step back and let's talk about where the story began. Where did the idea for dating came from? What were you doing before dating, and how did you manage to convince yourself to get into so competitive market and then start dating?
Yeah, so I think it actually I think you would personally like this story for the origins of dating. So a while back, I was on a podcast tour specifically for a cryptocurrency project I was working on. And just like we're gonna kind of getting along, I went on this one podcast called The Crypto Economy. It's run by this dude named Mark.
Mm-hmm.
After the podcast, we kind of became friends online, stayed in touch, sent each other reels and all that stuff. And then this AI looking thing started following me on Twitter. I'm just like, oh, what's this? Like, oh, this is Mark. I'm thinking about building this AI powered matchmaker. I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. That helps a lot of people. I'm down to help out. And the timing was good because you couldn't really build it before ChatGPT became mainstream, and now with ChatGPT now mainstream, it was time for us to build it. And we were learning that we're instead of like building it ourselves, we're waiting for ChatGPT to make the benefits and needs to actually do the matching. So we're floating on top of the, I guess, the techno AI progress that they're making and just making their own. In terms of
Interesting.
competition, it's like really they're. I think most people are unhappy on dating apps. I would say if I've seen surveys where it's like 60 to 70% of the people are unhappy. So there are plenty of room for improvement. And my logic is, I mean, I think people are better off meeting in person, to be honest, like because you can really feel someone's energy that way. But a lot of people are moving towards the online dating scene because it gets rid of a area of rejection, meaning you can swipe left, swipe right 50 times and not have to approach a girl in person. So
Mm,
people are already making that transition. We can give them a better option. And long term, it can be like it can be a connections app too. Like, for example, if we were to meet in person, it could plan our hangout, even though we're not trying to date, so we can do
yeah.
that. We're talking with colleges now about helping using our like white labeling our software to match roommates and all that stuff. Because imagine you're a freshman, you go to college, it's like I could get this random person, I can get this person who actually matches with me. We're
Mm.
working with some other companies like a mentorship type thing where it's like connecting college students with the right mentor type thing where that relationship is also important. So we're testing out what we can do with the platform.
So your core product is not just about the dating, it's also about matching with the help of AI for particular kind of profiles or personas, right? Because that's quite interesting. I mean, it could be used anywhere.
Yeah, no, correct. Yeah, I would say the core product is the matchmaking algorithm, and it's going to get better and better at that. And dating is just the first skin of the product that we're using because it's the easiest market to penetrate, in our opinion.
Got it. So can you give us the size of the business? Where are you in terms of revenue numbers or customer size of team?
Yeah, so team is roughly around. So we have four core members. We have three advisors, or three different advisors. We just got our fourth, who's actually really high up at Tinder. So we're very excited about that. And we have six or seven other team members other than the core people who started the company. So I'd say around 11 employees, 14 total if you include advisors and all that stuff.
Hmm.
We had our pre-seed round, so that was used to build the technology, get our first user base. So our intention is to get that first user base. So our technology we're still kind of hardening, but we're slow playing getting users on. So we're around 1,300 users, most of which are around Los Angeles, California, just because
Hmm.
that's where we're from. Like, so
Hmm.
a lot of our in-person marketing events are centered around LA, but we have users across the country because again, like we're going on podcasts, we're focused on other forms of marketing, so we're using that as a heat map in a sense. Okay, let's say a bunch of people just are organically downloading in Nashville. Nashville would be a good city to then target, but as of now, we're focused on LA, getting like the in and out model where it's like there's always an in and out within driving distance because if we're trying to match people in person, focusing on LA makes the most sense. We
Hmm.
want to get to around 10,000 users in LA base and then use that as enough traction to raise our next round, which I think is coming just because I think interest rates are about to drop and I think AI hype is coming and I think venture capital is about to take a hit in the sense that a lot of them are getting replaced, so they might have to look for companies like this is kind of their last gasp before a lot of them get replaced by AI.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Before we move towards, I was really got intrigued by the purpose of the AI being the course surveys, and the algorithm. So let's before moving to that, like unlocking new opportunities or possibilities with this core backend service you're building. I want to hear more about you. I'm eager to learn more about the person behind this venture. Can you take us back to your roots? Share with our audience about your upbringing, your childhood. How did your early experiences shape your journey to eventually, become an entrepreneur as you are today? And were there any key influences from your family or surrounding that played a significant role in shaping up your entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And in terms of childhood, I come from a pretty nice area, so like I've always been naturey. I've always been curious. I've always tried to capture bugs and spend as much time in nature as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school at UCI. I was going down a pretty normal path, I would say, college. And then my first job was at Snap, helping craft their ad algorithm. And my second job was a consultant, because when you're growing up, you're just like, okay, lawyer, consultant, doctor, four year, it makes sense after being like graduating at 4 year university. So that was the path I was going on. And I
Mm-hmm.
would say what really woke me up was Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So I got really into Bitcoin, which didn't align with the ethos of the consulting firm, because it was a bankruptcy consulting firm. So it's like Fortune 500 companies going through the bankruptcy process. You pretty much just have to divide up debt. And we were getting paid from a pool that I felt should have gone to like the average shareholder of the company. So that didn't align. And I think this is my biggest, this is what set me on a different timeline is I took a leap of faith. I quit my job. Well, I waited for my bonus, but I quit my job right after that. I knew I wanted to work in cryptocurrency. Started going to cryptocurrency meetups in my local area. Met the original ShopX, Aces, Split Team. There's many different names. And then another catapult for me was, so we were working on the problem for that, and like when you're on the startup, you just kind of whiteboard a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And another company, another SaaS platform came from an idea, a problem we were having in that current company. And
Mm-hmm.
this was essentially, it's called Polly or CartRev. So it's essentially TikTok shops
Mm-hmm.
before, like, because again, in affiliate marketing, attributions were a mess. So it's like TikTok shops within Instagram before TikTok shops was alive. And then that got VC funded in one of the top incubators in the world. And for your listeners, an incubator is basically startup school. So it's like our startup was next to another startup, which is next to another startup. The structure of this was like the higher, more revenue you got, the higher, more successful your company is, the more you moved up in the building.
Mm-hmm.
So at a young age, I was surrounded by many different entrepreneurs in many different fields, in many different levels of their company. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to absorb as much information as I possibly could. So that was like a 2 to 3 period of just rapid learning. Because again, like the name of the game is learning, and that was probably the best possible environment. Not only was I surrounded by great people, but in the startup environment, it's one thing to like someone tells you should do this and you're like, oh, that's a good idea. But in the
Mm-hmm.
startup environment, you can actually rapidly apply it. And the more quickly you start applying stuff, the more quickly you start doing stuff, the more quickly you can iterate and make that stuff better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was really helpful for me. And then the
That is
second,
so amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then it introduced me to the whole spiritual side too. Cause like I was networking with her. He's like, oh, do you want to have lunch on Tuesday? One is like, I can't, I have to meditate. I'm like, what do you mean you have to meditate? Don't you have to send emails? Don't you have to go, 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 go? And then that kind of opened my eyes to like the whole spiritual side.
Yeah, yeah, that happens in consulting all the time. So yeah, cool. So let's talk about this new opportunity and possibilities with what you're building right now. So as you said, that dating is the first skin for the algorithm which is sitting behind, which is the matching algorithm. When you started working on this particular product, how did you decide it on? So let's talk about what tech stack you guys are using right now, and what is there a base model you're using, or you are building it from the scratch? And then what triggered you to choose that particular stack? These are the three parts of the question.
So regarding tech stack, I don't think our engineering team honestly likes it if we tell the tech stack in public, so I
Hmm.
might have to decline to answer that.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, sorry
But do
about
you have
that.
like a base model, or have you used, are you training everything from scratch?
So we had our base model. So the base model is based on ChatGPT, and we've
Okay.
inputted ourselves. So like something we wanted to do was use our base model, and I wanted to input the spiritual textures, like the ancient things, into the model, so it does good for that. But
Hmm.
the thing is, like, we had our base model, but the name of the game with AI is getting as much data through the system as much so it can learn as quickly as possible. So the base model, I mean, as cool as it was, it quickly took a life of its own. So I would say Cupid's actually kind of alive now, just because there's a lot of users, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of interaction going through that. So like the cool thing about Cupid is the base model is great, but she's learning every second of every day and getting better at what she does. So right now,
Mm.
this present moment, this is the worst she's gonna be. In an hour, she's gonna be better. In a day, she's gonna be better. And imagine how cool that is as it compounds with time and users.
Very interesting. And what about the the platform? Are you publishing this dating app on iOS, Android, or both? Where are your primary customers coming from? Because the challenge founders usually have to is to get the traction. How are you marketing this product to the people who are already surrounded by all these big giant, as you mentioned, Match.com is the owner of all the dating apps, right? It's a quite competitive area. So what's your go-to market strategy? How are you putting your app into the hands of the consumer?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, we are building for Android, but right now we're live on the Apple App Store in the United States. The reason we chose the Apple App Store is just 80% of our customer base, which is ideally around 25 to 35-year-old people who just left college. Because in college, you don't really need a dating app that much just because you have so many more options. But as soon as you enter the workforce, it gets kind of a bit lonelier. It's harder to meet people. So we found that the 25 to 35-year-old is our best cohort because of after above the age 35, that's, I mean, let's be real, they're a bit older, so they're kind of a bit more confused about AI. Whereas if you're 25 to 35, you're kind of getting acclimated. So you're used to using ChatGPT. So like, okay, this makes perfect sense. So that's who we're targeting. In terms of go-to-market strategy, we have a two-pronged approach. So around 50-50, we're targeting LA as well as global. So we'll do some, like, for example, we do targeted ads because let's say we target 50% of our budget to LA, 50% around the United States, just to kind of build that heat map because we want to see where people are organically signing up. And then that makes sense to target it there. I think one of our best users for growers is, I mean, I'm getting pretty good at AI video and all that stuff, so I've been playing around with video, so if need be, we can make, and I originally thought that using AI video content to go viral was going to be the path, but then we found out, or I personally found out, that if you're trying to sell an AI product, selling it with AI, that's a bit too much AI for the users, so they're just like, oh, I don't, they would rather hear it from a person, so we're building out our creator program. I think that's going to be the biggest way we do it, so right now we have around like 100 to 150 micro influencers to larger influencers who want to work with us. They fill out the form. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to pay them per piece of content. And the logic behind that is we want to get and build a relationship with the creators right before they get big. So like, if someone gets big, you have to pay them a lot more. But like if they're around 10K, you can kind of tell if they're posting, if they're kind of putting a lot of effort, they're likely going to do well in the future. So we're
Mm.
going to work with those creators right before they get big. And of course, we're trying a bunch of guerrilla stuff. So we've had really good luck with in-person events, meaning like we'll go to a college, we'll go to a bar, we'll go to a club, and we'll literally just talk to people and hand out cards. Like, this is what we're doing. And like, because again, like it can be a foreign concept to people. So, I mean, that's just a way to slowly spread it. Podcast ads are actually working pretty well because if we're paying Apple, they're already on the Apple App Store, and then we can target dating market that way.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's how
That's
that
that's
summarizes
really
it.
cool. That's really cool. I think you have covered almost all the verticals when it comes to go out and try to find out your product market fit. So that's pretty cool. Your team is lean, so that also makes your like VCs will be more interested because
Yes.
you don't have too much to churn, too much to burn. Sorry, when it comes to the capital. Um, let's talk about your team, the founder dynamics and everything. So second biggest challenge founders have in their life is, okay, they have the product, okay, they have the traction in place, but the team and the members, how do you guys make decisions? Who has the veto, and who says like, okay, this is wrong, this is right, we're gonna go this direction? What's the dynamics you have in your team?
So there's three core founders. So there's me, the CEO and the CTO, so he's just more straight technical. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone can do a bit of everything, but I focus on the marketing side. The CEO kind of jumps around and more focuses on fundraising, where the CTO obviously focuses on the technical side. In
Mm,
terms of veto power, I mean, you kind of stay in your lanes. Like, if I see something in marketing, it'll usually go. But I mean, whoever has the most equity does
mm,
ultimately have the most veto power, so that would go to the CTO. But we have a pretty good dynamic where it's just like, we have daily meetings, so we're always in, like, we've used breakout meetings pretty well. So like, it's a remote team, but like, for example, we have our QA call later this morning, and then product marketing call tomorrow, and then the actual straight marketing calls on Thursday. So that's how our, I guess, how our founder dynamic works is CEO's veto power, but in our individual lanes, CTO and I guess a CMO, which I guess would be me, would have veto power in that name. And of course, we have our advisor list who we always lean on for advice. Like, some of our advisors are really good. So like, we have the ex COO of Citadel who's helping us. So he's going to help us with our fundraise, which is great. We have I don't know if you've heard her. Her name is Ayala on Twitter. So she's kind of helping us get the word out in terms of like infiltrating that community. And the person who crafted our algorithm, he's one of the smartest people we've ever met. So he's like, in terms of data science, he's probably like a top five talent in the world. And he was basically Michael Dell's. He worked with Michael Dell to actually quantify all of his stuff. So like, he's the one
mm,
handling the algorithm. So it's a nice little breakdown. And the cool thing about us is, in terms of veto, our burn is actually really low. So our monthly burn is really low because in terms of equity and stuff, most of the equity is lying on the dev team. So like, if you have equity, you don't need to get paid because it's one of the others. So most
yeah,
of the equity is with the dev team. That keeps the burn much lower than it probably would be if you're actually paying developers. So that's
yeah,
something we have our advantage. So we can always lower our burn as low as needed. Of course, you need the money for market, and I think that actually worked out well too. Because I think you need the more money for marketing in the sense, because you have to realistically. I mean, our UGC is great, like getting organic word is great, but if you really want to get that exponential growth, you do have to spend money on PR. You do have to spend ads. You do have to pay creators. You do have to do a bunch of stuff. You have to do a bunch of stuff because. Like I said, I don't know what's going to work. I mean, you find out what works and you double down on it, and then you keep doubling until it doesn't work, and then when it doesn't work, you find something new. And to do that, you
mm,
do need some capital.
indeed, indeed. That's actually pretty cool because not just lean, but you also have this understanding of being in your own lane, and then you have um, uh, this different spectrum of making sure that if this is more related to tech, obviously you have the best CTO, as you mentioned, and then they can make the decision on the tech side, and then obviously you're the person who are taking the words out. Great stuff. So let's talk a little bit more about the product itself. Can you share a compelling case study? So you mentioned that you have created multiple live events, you have attended them, started talking to the people. How your service or app um, helps someone to solve their problem, basically get them a date, which is like quite well matched. I would love to hear about the specific challenge an individual or a group of people had, and uh, what did you guys suggested them to do in order to get that problem solved, and what was the outcome in that?
Yeah, so I've been involved with UCLA is a university in California, so I've been involved with their entrepreneurship side for a while. So I was speaking at one of their events for young and coming up entrepreneurs at UCLA, people who want to start companies and all that cool stuff. And I would say there was around 80 to 90 students, and I was the keynote speaker. And they were broken up in groups. They weren't sure what to talk about. They weren't sure what to do. They weren't sure what to hang out after. So we suggested they download the app and then match with each other within the groups, and then plan like where they should eat after. So that actually stems some long-term relationships from there. Like I said, the app is meant for dating, but people who have relation, and I think this is a cooler use case because we have matches and people are going on dates and all that stuff. But I would say the complete life cycle is they meet on the app, they go through the dates, and they will ultimately have a kid. So that's where I would consider the complete life cycle of the
Mm,
customer. And we haven't gotten that far. Meaning, like, we see people having dates, but we're not sure if they're actually we've seen people having dates and removing themselves from the matching pool, which logically means that they're probably individually dating this person in the sense because you wouldn't remove if they're removing themselves from other matches and just focusing on this one person is probably kind of getting more, I guess, more serious for them. So we've seen around like 10 to 20 of those, which is good to see.
Mm.
But the cool features we have it so current partners can actually match with like their I mean, they can match with their current partner and remove themselves from the match pool. So we've seen couples actually use the Act Cupid feature to help them solve in real life problems for their couple. So the one couple, I'm not going to go into like specific details because it's a bit private, but we know them. They're having a bit of issues. They're like, oh, what should we do? What should we do? What does this mean? We don't spend enough
Mm.
time together. And then I was able to offer a solution that was really tailored to them. It suggested a movie, a game night, a dinner thing, all tailored to their specific interests. And it was actually a
Mm.
really good way to break the ice. So it's like, oh, you should watch this movie. You should make these dishes to go with this movie. And then you can make a game out of it gamified having their problems brought up to the surface because they're asking like how do we introduce this aspect of a relationship into our relationship, and it's like, okay, well, you're much more direct because you're a man, but she's also much more subtle and more nervous and all that stuff. So it's like took into account of her personality, then made it a game so she'd be more comfortable. They played the game and then accomplished the need of like, okay, now this is actually how we want to move forward with this specific aspect of our relationship. And it used like their favorite movie, it used their type of cuisine. I was able to get all the data and produce something.
Awesome. Great stuff. And Eric, throughout your journey and experience, there must have been some valuable lessons learned, right? You have worked with consulting firms, you have worked with Web3, then moved to Soulmate and all these things. If you don't mind sharing, could you reflect on your experience and tell us about one mistake or a setback that you encountered along the way that you now not necessarily consider as a
Yep.
regret, but are lessons learned? And then additionally, what advice would you give our listeners based on this experience?
Yeah, so in terms of mistakes, I don't view everything, I don't view anything as a mistake because the way I view, yeah, I mean, I believe in God, but let's just call it the universe or whatever for all intents and purposes. I think the
Mm.
universe always has my back, the universe always has your back, and it may not seem like what's happening is in your favor, but it ultimately is. So, for example, in a previous startup, like if you haven't paid for a while, you're trying to raise money, it's kind of a stressful time. We had the
Mm.
offer sheet on the table, they're supposed to give us money, like the money was literally supposed to hit the account. They pulled out at the very last second, which at the time, we're just like, oh, that's a bummer. But in
Mm.
reality, it helped us out because they weren't the right fit for us as a company. And we saw that, like in retrospect, oh, they're clearly not the right fit. They're trying to get us to do something we wouldn't do. And I
Mm.
think a lot of startups fail. Like, I think the main reason the startups fail because people quit. And the second main reason startups fail is the founders don't get along. And the third reason startups fail is their investment arm doesn't get along or doesn't align with the current founder base, which causes tension. So
Mm.
we're able to solve that. Or that was just like a sign of like, rejection isn't or rejection is really just redirection. So it was a good use case for redirection. And in terms of learning, I don't know, like the name of the game is content optimization. You try a bunch of stuff, most will fail. Like you try 9 things, it fails. You try the 10th thing, it works for a bit, you're all excited. It starts to, and then it fails after a week. You're like, okay, at least I know why. And you
Mm.
optimize from there. I've also learned that karma is a real thing. So when you're building products or services, like you are just don't harm anyone and don't take anything away from anyone. You should be good because like if you
Yeah.
make money in a bad way, it's going to come back to bite you. But if you make money in a good way, it tends to multiply. And
Yeah.
again, you get what you give. Like I think everything is like I think of everything in terms of frequency. So like what you put out, you get. Like if you're saying you're hateful, you're loving, you're peaceful, all you're saying is that I'm vibrating on that specific frequency. And just like a radio station, if you go to that station, you get that station. So if you're hateful, you're vibrating at that hateful frequency, you attract hateful people in your life. But on the
Mm.
flip side, if you're loving, you're peaceful, you're trying to help as many people as you can, you tend to attract those people in your life. And from a business perspective, doing that type of business is just much better. So just come at it with like a angle of love. And I guess my biggest lesson is I think people are happiest when they're serving other people.
Mm.
And I believe in the power of authenticity, meaning I'm the number one me in the world. If you try to be me, you can't beat me at being me because I'm number one. But if I try to be you, I can't beat you at being you because you're number one. So if I'm trying to serve as many people as possible, the most logical way to do that is to do what I'm number one at, which is being myself. So that's why it's important to actually follow your intellectual curiosity, your calling, your gut instinct, whatever you're going to do when you're deciding what to build.
Mm,
It's also important knowing. It's also important to start because if you start something, it's because there's desires. There's like authentic desires and there's program desires. Same thing can apply with building businesses. So it's important to start because if you're not authentically or it's not destined for you, you'll know it in your heart of hearts, and then you can just lean that out pretty quickly.
interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Eric. I really appreciate it. And I'm enjoying this conversation so much that I want to go on and on. But, we have a very limited time for us. We have a section in our podcast which is called Quickfire Questions. So we have 6 quickfire questions. If you are happy to answer them, that would be great. If you don't want to answer one of them, you can just say skip it and then we can move to the next one. How does that sound?
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's get into the quickfire round then. Um, Question number 1. What are the top 3 strategies to gain more traction for your startup in 2025?
And 2025, take advantage of AI however you can because it really just multiplies your natural talent. So think of it like a lever. Be authentic because people can, and with AI, with the rise of AI content, there's going to be a flood of content in the market. So people are going to feel the fake stuff, avoid that, and go back to your authentic, and they'll try to find the authentic one, which is why I think podcasts are going to be more valuable in the future. And
Hmm.
the third is just, honestly, UGC. I mean, it's time tested and tried, but people trust people selling products. Like we've had much more luck with downloads when someone actually recommends it from the bottom of their heart. I mean, like we're not telling them what to do. It's like they're actually playing with the product and they're creating
Hmm.
content based on what they like. And if you can get UGC in an organized fashion and just kind of organically go viral, that's a great way to get people on your app.
Awesome. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
From a spiritual perspective, Emerald Tablet by Hermes Trismegistus has been really impactful for me in terms of spirituality. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, he's a smart dude. I mean, that's just very easy to read and just timeless lessons it's a great download. One of my
Mm,
favorites is Anti-Fragile by Taleb, so that's another good book that helped build my
yeah.
entrepreneurship base.
Yeah, I've been following Novel for a while now. I have to put that book into my reading list for the next one. Great. What one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder?
Um, Anti-fragility, so adaptability and a
Hmm.
positive mindset, honestly, too. It's cliche, but you need both those.
Yeah, yeah, definitely we do, isn't it? What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
gra- um, Meditation, honestly. Meditation combination with a gratitude journal. So I like to
Hmm.
start off the day, meditate, set my intention for the day, and I think that creates the reality where what I meditate on happens. And the gratitude journal, it's the easiest way to do it. So the first thing I do when I wake up is I write 3 things I'm grateful for. And a lot of times they're small things, like it's like I have water, I have a roof over my head. It's nothing big, but if you're in the attitude of gratitude, you can attract a lot more. Because if you believe in energies and stuff, like neediness is a really repelling energy, but gratitude is a really comforting energy, and you attract more in your life when you're in the attitude of gratitude.
Got it, got it. My grandma used to say that if you be polite, talk to people in a nicer way, even though they have done something wrong to you, spread out positive energy, then actually it gets back to you tenfold.
Grandmas are grandmas are usually right. I would say I've learned throughout my life. It's like I've learned not to question. It's like, yep, grandma, you are right.
Yeah, yeah. So you reminded me of her. So thanks for that. What's a new or a crazy business idea you would love to pursue if you had time?
So right now I'm pursuing 3 different ideas, and I'll just talk about both. The first is Aces.fund. That's a cryptocurrency project. So that's essentially creating a derivative market
Mm-hmm.
based on e-commerce products. So like it creates an RWA, a physical to digital connection between like a one-of-one Ferrari, and then people can buy a token out of that and kind of speculate on the product success. So that's something that's being built right now. Pretty solid. And another project I'm working on is called Discount Emails. It's so boring. I think it's actually crazy. And what it is, we just purchased a bunch of Google licenses a while ago, and so we have those. We threw on a quick UI and we're selling it to entrepreneurs. Meaning, like, if you wanted a email for your podcast, like an official Ash at founderspodcast.com versus Ash founderspodcast at gmail.com, we
Mm-hmm.
could set you up. And the cool thing is, one of the biggest issues with entrepreneurs is I've noticed, like, and I've dealt with this myself, is like you're not getting paid for a while. So you're just kind of running low, and then you can make decisions out of scarcity. But as we scale up discount emails, like I said, if you were to use it, you'd be paying us monthly instead of paying Google. So you'd be paying half of what you'd pay Google to me and another group of entrepreneurs versus paying Google. And that's residual income for me and the other core team members we have. And then that solves the issue of always being scarce, having a limited scarcity mindset for money. Because if your
Mm.
basic necessities are taken care of, it's a lot easier to build. So I think that's
Right.
so boring. I think it's actually pretty crazy. And I think a lot of people, because you'll see with AI and stuff like, because I mean, I'm sure you're aware of Cursor and all those technologies where like people are going to mass produce content and they're going to mass produce products and services. And I think a bunch of people are going to try to do that moonshot product. Whereas I think of a lot of people, they can set up like a boring business. Like I look at discount emails as like selling cement. Not the
Mm.
most fun thing, but it's essential and it can help create cash flow to build those moonshot products.
See, I would love to hear more about that email thing because, who doesn't want that, right? Great. Um, Last but not least, what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
I think I have multiple personalities, which is interesting. Like I can switch between different. I have three main ones I kind of switch between. There's a front-facing one, there's a really quiet one, and there's a more aggressive one.
Interesting. Cool. Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story, unpacking the years of building this business and some of the ups and downs on the way. If people want to check out dating, or people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do it?
Yes, if you want to check out dating, just search DATAING in the Apple App Store. You should come up, check out the app. I think it'll be fun
Mhm.
for you to use. But if you want to get in touch with me, either my Instagram or LinkedIn,
Mm.
Eric, ERICDMCHUGH, because I do love meeting people. And if there's anything I can do to help you, just reach out anytime.
Awesome. Great. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're doing through dating. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Founders Podcast.
Yeah, likewise, Ash.